This is the first installment of Jag Nation Football with Coach Basil. Each and every week during the season and postseason, we'll be getting insight on the Jaguar football program from head coach Brian Basil. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spreaker.com, and Google Podcasts. I'm John Piper, and pleased to be joined by Coach Basil. Good evening, Coach.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, we were talking off air a little bit. A big week coming up, first regular season game on Thursday. You had your coaches meeting on Sunday, put in the game plan, started to implement it in practice today. I think it was 102 degrees, so that's a little rough on the kids and the staff. But, hey, weather aside, does it get any more exciting than week one with the entire season ahead of us?
Well, I'm glad. I think it says hottest day of the summer this year, so I'm glad we had a game coming up because that certainly focuses your attention. It was hot out there, but feel excitement of the kids that are getting ready to play. The game's coming up, of course, first week. Having an opportunity to play on a Thursday, one day sooner is exciting for us. I know we're certainly ready to get going. We had a good scrimmage on Friday. It was nice to get out there after all spring and the 2 weeks of practice just hitting on each other. It's nice to get out there and play a real game.
How are your guys and the staff holding up in this heat? It's been over 100 degrees each and every day of practice.
They're doing a good job. We've had to make some adjustments in practice. Our trainer, Coach Basil, does an awesome job of communicating with us. And, we really try to find a good balance of getting game speed reps and getting our guys in shape versus just overdoing it and having them tired. And, there's I don't know that there's a magic formula because every kid is different. We know that our kids train very hard this summer, so we feel like they can do a little bit more out in the heat. But it certainly takes us toll day in and day out. If there's one or two hot days, you get through that. But it's been just 2 straight weeks of triple-digit heat. The ability to rest and hydrate and recover is very important. Our guys are doing a good job. I mean, we have an expression that says we'd much rather use the reins than the spurs, and we've had to pull back them a little bit. They want to get out there and get going. We've made some adjustments as far as shedding layers during practice and working some in our indoor. But, at some point in time, you got to get out there and you got to battle in the elements and get out there on the full field and do what you do. So we've done a little bit of both, and I think our kids have handled it well.
Coach, I'm not a weather guy, but I did see the balance of this week. Actually, starting tomorrow, some rain, mid-80s, much more relief in sight. And then, as we approach game time on Thursday, low 90s, and then dropping into the 70s in the evening once the sun sets. That's got to be a lot better looking on your forecast and playing at 102 at kickoff.
We're really looking forward to that. Of course, the way last season went with the rain, and we had several weeks where we were in and out of the locker room, either pregame or in the middle of the game, had to adjust some practices. And we tell our kids that that's a good way to learn how to handle some adversity because there's a lot of times where things don't always go as planned, and that's how you develop a little bit of perseverance. So, but we do know that it's once those temperatures cool down, that's going to give us quite a spark, so we're looking forward to it.
Coach Basil, you enter your 4th season as head coach of the Flower Mound Jaguars. Your team surprised many last season, finishing a very strong 8-3. Hey, congratulations, by the way, winning District 6-6A championship and going undefeated in district play, by the way. What has been the mindset going into this season, coming off such a phenomenal season in 2018?
Well, we're definitely very proud of that as a program. Our kids were involved in that. Our kids were in the program. There was a lot of hard work that put into it, and been a point of emphasis this offseason to focus on not just resting on our laurels and being satisfied with that. We want to really compete for that district championship year in and year out. And honestly, we want to get to the point where we're making runs in the playoffs. As satisfied as last season was, we were really disappointed that we didn't have a better showing in the first round of playoffs. Played an outstanding Dyer team and really battled pretty well there for 3 quarters and just didn't feel like we played as well and really were as indicative of a team that we have been during the course of that season. And I think that's really been what we've focused on them, is that we can look at it like, hey, we won a district championship. That's great. But we also, we also lost in the first round of playoffs, which our goal was to make a deeper run than that. And we've been pushing them to focus on that. The goals change. The expectations don't change. We have a formula that we believe that you play winning football, and we've worked hard to build that foundation since 2016. A lot of players and team leaders worked hard to establish that culture within our program. So we're working hard to get that next group of leaders to step up and continue to build on that foundation. I think that's one of the biggest things is we won our first district championship in school history. Now, can we go back to back? Can we go back to back playoff appearances? Can we go make a run in the playoffs? So those are new goals that we have, and we're getting our kids to focus on.
Well, Coach, there was a new UIL rule implemented this past year that over the summer you could actually coach your kids 2 hours a week. As a Jaguar head coach and your staff, were you able to take advantage of that and implement some things this offseason, in addition to your strength and conditioning that all the kids go through, that made a difference as they roll into the season and preparing as they practice the last couple of weeks?
We did take advantage of that. We like that rule. I think you got to be careful that I still feel like there's some legitimacy to taking a little bit of break every once in a while. Your coaches need it. Your players need that. So we had kids that went to camps and went on vacations and didn't want them to feel like if they missed a week or so to do some of those things that they were going to be behind. So we really want to utilize that to just focus on some basic fundamental things. Sometimes you don't always get to do that because you're game planning or you're working through an installation progression where it seems like you're always on to the next thing. What was nice about this summer is that we went out and just worked basic drill work, we taught some with our receivers and felt like we got to work on some fundamentals for an extended period of time. And the best thing that we did is felt like we've had some really good returning kids on the varsity level, some seniors that had some pretty good experience, and we wanted to work those sessions with those kids along with our incoming freshmen. So we had players ranging from incoming freshmen to returning varsity guys that were all working together, and I think that was one of the things that we enjoyed is having those older kids kind of showing the younger kids the ropes, so to speak. And we've got an outstanding coaching staff that do a really good job with our guys, but when you've got some senior guys out there like Blake Short and Reed Touchstone and Pierce Hudgens and Travis Smith-Farley and guys that have been 3-year varsity guys, Carson Winters, there's ninth grade kids coming up that have looked up to those older guys, and they're out there running routes, doing drill work with them. And that was one of the things that we were really pleased with this summer is developing that alignment within our program and some mentorship with those guys. So we appreciated and really took advantage of the opportunity to do that this summer. And the skill work was beneficial, but I think just getting out there and really being able to spend a little time with those guys and getting them around each other was important to developing some chemistry within our program.
Well, Coach, you mentioned some senior leadership on your team. You've seen these kids as they came in as, probably scrawny freshmen. You've seen them develop, as you enter your 4th year. And, that's special being a high school head coach. It's really important and powerful, to see these kids, really graduate as leaders and special players on the Jaguar team. You open up on Thursday night this season at Keller Fossil Ridge. Is there anything you do differently to prepare for a Thursday game versus a Friday night game?
When you play a Thursday game and it's more in the middle of your season, it's a little bit different preparation. Since it's first game of the season, you haven't gotten into that routine yet. So for us, it's not a whole lot different. You just got to work around one less day of preparation. And I think that's really the biggest thing is when you play a Friday, we've got a typical Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule. Now that one day gets squeezed out of that, so you got to work on just adjusting your schedule a little bit to get all your special teams working. I think that's one of the biggest things that gets squeezed out is some of that special teams work. So getting that in there, I think, is on one less day of preparation is a little bit different. But when you get out there, whether it's Thursday night or Friday night, when you get on the field, buses pull up and go through that pregame routine and get in the locker room and go kick it off, it really doesn't feel any different. So the nice thing about Thursday game is you do have that Friday to get all your film work in, and we typically bring our kids up on Saturdays after a Friday night game. We watch the film with them on Friday, and they don't come in on Saturday. So it's like a little bit of a extra day's rest and a jump start on your next week opponent.
Well, Coach, you mentioned a couple of key players that are returning on both sides of the ball, but let's start with the offensive side. With big offensive lineman Nate Adams, he shows up at 6'6", 295 pounds. He's going to obviously provide a lot of protection for your quarterback, Blake Short. Pierce Hudgens had a big year last year. We talked a lot about him each and every week. Big athletic kid, 6'1", 195 pounds with some speed. And then Reed Touchstone, touched the ball a lot last season, worked well in the offseason, have some speed there on the outside. How's the offensive unit been looking thus far in practice?
The offense has been looking sharp. You mentioned those guys. Of course, Blake returned at quarterback. I talked about those guys earlier that were such good leaders and mentors in our program. Reese Carter is another one that another 3-year starter for us. Reese was also elected as team captain by his teammates. You've got a lot of good leadership on that team. You got guys that were very productive, not just as juniors, but some of them even as sophomores in our program. So they've really provided some good leadership for those younger guys that are over there and having to step into some roles. We've got a sophomore, Parker Clark, that has had a really good spring and continued that pace here as we've started practice the last couple weeks. Had a really good scrimmage, had a touchdown catch, and really did some good things there. So the thing about those guys with Reese and Reed and Blake and Pierce and Carson, those guys have not only good players, they're great leaders, and they're really hard workers. And when you look at just their commitment to the weight room, to practicing full speed reps, they really set the tone for those other guys to follow. Their work ethic is unmatched, and I think that's one of the biggest things that they provide, not just as stats, but setting the tone for the commitment to working hard and doing things right in our program.
Coach, switching over to the defensive side of the ball, you got some big boys on that side as well. Defensive tackle Travis McFarland, 6'4", 250. Defensive end Stone Ebby, 6'4", 230. Defensive back Josh Johnson. What can you say about that core leadership on the defensive side? And there's always those role players that maybe don't make the Dallas Morning News, preseason special players to watch, but it always takes some good role players, some underclassmen, some sophomores and juniors, and some seniors that really didn't get to play a lot last year. They're going to step up for the Jaguars this season and really make an impact. What can you say about the defensive side?
Yeah, you mentioned those guys, and they were starters last year and put up some good numbers on defense. We also have some guys. Spencer Maltmanis he was a Mike linebacker for us last year, and we made the move to him to defensive end. We really like his speed and the length that he has there, and thought that would be a position where he could really shine. And when you come and you talk to a kid like that had been